Hey y'all, sprinkle, sprinkle. All right, we are live. How are y'all doing? All right, so let me take this off. We are going to be doing a little session with Terrane today. He's going to be here in a little while, so everybody welcome. We're going to be waiting for a second for him to come online. But we're going to be talking about psychics, witches, and the government. All right, so some of y'all already know, back in the old days, they used psychics, witches, mediums, and all sorts of types of people in the government to kind of spy or send intentions or cast spells on different places and people. And this is literally fact that they used psychics, studied psychics, and used them to spy and do like remote viewing and all this kind of stuff. So it is in their files, in the government files and everything. You can find them online. So therefore, you can kind of know that there are people out there with these certain types of powers, that they are employed or used by the government. There's lots of movies and TV shows that will show you this, like Stranger Things, Suicide Squad, stuff like that. So if you're familiar with those TV shows and movies, you already know governments, psychics, witches, and occult members work as well. Okay, you said even NASA uses a lot of spiritual imagery. Yeah. So if you are like, a lot of people in the 70s or early 80s were tested to see if they had psychic abilities, especially kids, adults, and like there was a big craze and phenomenon going around where people were testing people's psychic abilities, giving them certain tests and trying to figure out if they possessed certain powers or whatever, so they could recruit them. Y'all seen Stranger Things. It's kind of like that, right? And there are some actual people that have worked with the government using their psychic abilities to do certain things. So I'm sure that they still use psychics. They probably use more technology now, but back then they were using witches to send out intentions. They were using psychics to remotely spy. They were doing all this stuff they could to figure out how they could use this type of knowledge and power, I guess, to spy and get ahead. I don't know. Anyway, what do y'all think about it? Because we're just waiting on Terrane Hicks, because he's gonna come and talk about this as well, which is kind of interesting to talk about this with another person. There are videos on YouTube and videos online with more details and like people's names. I know Yuri Geller comes up. This one lady that worked for the government, she was from the UK. She comes up. So there's lots of people that are, working. And that was so funny because I remember one time somebody asked me, and I was like, I didn't know what they meant by this, but someone asked me if I worked for a special government agency. I'm like, why are you asking me that? This was back in the day when I did a lot of occult videos, decoding videos, prediction videos, and all this kind of stuff, when I was really heavily deep on this channel. Someone actually reached out and asked me if I worked for the government. And I was like, no. So that was hilarious because like they were serious. So I was like, I might be doing too much over here. Let me calm down. Let me go get my sprinkle on for a minute and I'll be back. But like, honestly, I think when you're really into something and you focused on it and you study it on a deeper level and you know things and you learn things and you start to see things and you understand things on a deeper level than most people, I think maybe you might be like thought to know more or be working with more higher ups, but I was just really bored and into what I was doing. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Okay. Anyway, hold on one second, y'all. All right, hold on. Okay. Okay, let me read some of these questions. What a lot of people using the term sprinkle sprinkle now. You just know that there are more than a few witches as celebrities. Most of them are. Mm. You say you think it's interesting, but you're more into the remote viewing places more than interested in other people. Yeah, I think when you focus on something and you learn a lot about it, you might tap into the ability to also do it as well. You said the gateway files. What is the best spiritual advice you would give an 18-year-old? It doesn't matter your age as long as you're just, doing what you're interested in and learning more each day. Don't get caught up too deep. Okay, y'all, Terrane is here. Sprinkle, sprinkle. We're going to introduce him to the live.
Oh, peace, y'all. What's going on?
Hey. Hold on, let me try to. I don't know why we're still in this circle thing, but I guess.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so hold on. What's up, Terrane? We are talking about psychics, witches, and government. So,
Oh, yeah.
people were talking about Project Gateway, like using psychics to spy, being so much into the occult, like people have to use you to like spy or just create codes or like use different code languages in the occult to send messages. What do you think about that?
I think it's all legit. It's all credible. This is how this government started, was through the occult. So all of this that is now being declassified is true. Most real practicing occultists know this. And that is, well, at least speaking for myself, that was one of my motivations towards getting so deep into this, is because if the government put so much money into studying this stuff in the 60s, then it have to be real. And the government studied the occult and witchcraft to get an edge over the other governments. It's very applicable, even from a government intelligence agency standpoint. So that gave me even more motivation to study this stuff so heavily.
Yes, me too. I think that's what made me want to learn more about everything, because it was so classified and hidden. And I remember, because I was like a child at that time when they started doing a lot of that research and testing and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, well, it must be real, like on Stranger Things.
Right. So all of this stuff that's coming out, I'm like, duh. But it's fascinating to see the extent that the government took the occult seriously. So on one hand, we got to push the Christianity narrative, and then on the other hand, it's, oh yeah, we take this occult so seriously, we're going to invest into the occult. Because the amount of money that they're saying that they were spending in the 60s and the 70s in the occult, that was a lot of money for research. There's a lot of money for research. A lot.
Yeah. And it's more than this, just the occult and psychic abilities, because they know we have the power to use our brain to a higher level if we're focused on it and we learn certain things that most people are not learning. There's some certain things that unlock certain things with, different types of codes and knowledge and stuff like that. So I think that's what they were trying to look for as well.
Yeah. So like that's where they got into the hallucinogens, right? Because they were looking for intergalactic secrets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And their most consistent thing that they were using was LSD. And then now they moved on to the psilocybin mushrooms and
Mm-hmm.
other things like ayahuasca and all of that stuff. Because they are extracting the alien secrets. Like what can we actually do with our mind, and how can they weaponize it?
Mm-hmm. So why do you think they use the hallucinogenics to like open up or like tap into a certain realm or frequency, or is it like a certain frequency that your brain works on and can see, intergalactic information?
Yeah, so they say that, according to science, they say that we only use 2% of our brain. And the hallucinogenics, they call them entheogens, the stuff that the shamans use, helps the shaman or the medicine man tap into more than 2%. And with tapping into more than 2%, we can see a lot further, right? We can be a lot more creative, and things that we cannot even comprehend only using that 2% capacity, we can comprehend. So that's how it works.
Okay. What if you were in the vicinity of a person using the hallucinogenic and they tapped into a percentage of their brain where they were able to tap into your auric field and to get you to like kind of be like a conduit of what they were seeing? You think that's possible?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, absolutely. I believe it's very possible. It's done all the time, and it is done frequently in secret government experiments that have not yet been declassified or may not ever be declassified.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, like, if somebody is using more than 2% of their brain, they're able to tap into yours and make you feel
Mm-hmm.
things, or mind control, or let you see what they're seeing, or, line up like thoughts and, telepathy with you, even though you haven't done anything hallucinogenic, but maybe they have, and their brain is working on a higher level and tapping into your brain, almost like Wi-Fi.
It's so deep. When I went on CIA.gov and pressed in search, because you can find all this stuff now because it's declassified, I was looking for, okay, what was their motivation? And they say the number one thing was influence. So if we can influence people to think this or that, how could we use occult activity or psychic practice to influence people? So that's what it says in the documents.
Mm-hmm.
So that is in alignment with what we're talking about.
Yeah. There's even like using frequencies that your brain will adjust to in order to receive more information, So let's say you're already on the monatomic gold or some of my elixirs, and, a signal is put out, and now your brain is, amplified by that signal. Plus you're, taking monatomic gold. You're going to literally be what I'm calling turned up enough to see certain things that most people can't. And so a lot of people don't know that they're already doing that with a lot of the stuff that's going on. But it is a secret. It'll come out later. They're already doing it. So if you felt like, but they also add in the technology so people aren't super suspicious. So if you think, oh, well, it's just the algorithm, or if it's just AI, da 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 da. But how can it's all of it now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's all of it. I agree.
But what do you think about it? Do you think it's just going to be the next level of technology, or since it's going to be known in the future that, this is what was happening, this is what was being experimented on? Do you think that they're using it to like spy to see the things that most people can't see behind closed doors, even though viewing their thoughts aren't able to be gotten. So like they don't know, like it could be used to solve crimes. It could be used to protect people and all this kind of stuff.
I believe that they have tapped in way deeper than we can even imagine at this point. And it is being weaponized in a level that we're not going to find out for at least 100 years. Right.
Mhm.
So I feel like they got it figured out at this point. They got it very well figured, especially, whenever they declassify stuff, that means that whatever they're doing is safe, or they're like light years ahead of what they're releasing. So I feel like they're already doing what we think that they possibly could be doing, just in a very subtle way, right? I feel like the next generation of warfare will be dealing with what we're talking about. This psychic weaponry and being able to hack into people's minds, being able to hack into world leaders' minds and influence their thoughts. I think that they're able to delete thoughts and add in thoughts and stuff like that. I feel like they already got that figured out, especially with the technology now.
Yeah, like on that Inception movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There's a lot of people that are saying that some weird stuff has happened to them, and maybe they think that they were part of some type of experiment or just, whatever. And a lot of people ran to get on medication or to therapy or to this or to that, thinking it was something wrong with them mentally. But what I feel is like years later, like you say, it's going to come out and people are going to realize it wasn't just you. It was a lot of other people.
Oh yeah, I remember like in the early 90s, so many people were getting they had all of these abduction stories, right? They would have like these dreams that they was getting abducted by grays and stuff like that. And it was around the same time that there was a lot of research being done in Area 51. And then now we got all of these fifth generation aircraft that we have the edge over everyone when it comes to the Air Force. And I feel like we traded secrets with aliens. We allowed them to experiment on us, and that we got technology secrets. But I feel like this has been going on for a long time.
I need to ask a question about them aliens. So psychics, witches, and governments all working together, and now aliens. We got to add aliens to the title. But do you think it's like that movie Avatar? Like the aliens get to like step in, like to play like Sims with the people?
Yeah, well, according to quantum physics, the only thing that makes scientific sense of our existence is that there have to be some aliens running an experiment on us, and we are Sims. That is the only thing that astrophysicists say makes sense. So it gets real creepy, you know what I'm saying? So our desire to play Sims comes from something more ancient than us. Our desire to create computers come from that we may have been created by supercomputers.
Right. How do we increase our brain power? The divine goddess asks, like, how can we compete by increasing our brain power at the same time as, they're running these experiments? But I feel like diet and, like you said, some certain hallucinogenics may or may not help, unless you're in one of them can tap into you.
Right. Meditation. The yogis, that was their premise, right? Where they would go into meditation for very long periods of time, and then now they could walk, they can fly, they can walk through walls, they can hold their breath, they can dive under the sea and hold their breath and not drown and stuff like that. That type of meditation increases your brain capacity. And of course, diet, right? Diet is very tricky because the food that we had 20 years ago is not the food that we have today.
Mm-mm.
And every year that food is produced in this world, it takes us further away from increasing our brain capacity. So it's very hard to get good food.
Mm-hmm.
So diet is important. Or I would say the more organic, the more raw food, the better.
Mm-hmm. So the psychics and the witches that were used in government experiments back in the day would literally remote view, sit in like a room and meditate, and then like see what the other person was doing on in a whole nother place, like on
Mhm.
Stranger Things with 11.
Right.
Um, you want to hear something weird?
Mhm.
This is a true story. Someone contacted me telling me what I was wearing, what I was doing, like one day.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. And that was because like a week before that, I was talking about remote viewing on my channel. This was years and years and years ago. And so they told me exactly what I had on and what I was doing. And I lived in a whole different house, an older house. This was like probably over 10 years ago. Um, there was no hidden cameras in this house. This house is old. The technology wasn't that advanced, but they swore up and down they were remote viewing. And so I didn't know what to chalk it up to, like lies or not, but they were pretty accurate. You think people that aren't with the government actually practice that as well? Because I know a lot of people do. There's like,
Absolutely.
mm-hmm,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? Some of us have the blood, right? Some of us have the blood, and that's what the government started studying. They can trace it down through your blood to find out if you are likely to be a seer or you can remote view, right?
mm-hmm,
But I believe there's so many of us that have the remote viewing. Some of us have it and we haven't turned it on.
mm-hmm. And some of us were able
Yeah,
to do it as children and
right.
repressed it and forgot about how to do it because I remember doing it as a child. So I think a lot of people just repress it
Yeah,
that do have that DNA or that
yeah.
gene.
And I think one of the things that really can kill the 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 psychic powers of a child is that they're told that what they see is evil,
Mm-hmm.
right? That will shut it down. And then now when they try to wake it up as an adult, it's a lot harder. Now, if they were nurtured as a child, then they would be able to tap in so easily.
Mm-hmm. And that's so true because you might scare the kid unless they embrace the evilness.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, I think a lot of people, probably could remote view when they were young. So psychics, they also have people like sending out psychic intentions to other people to make them feel a certain way or feel sick or like change their mind, like you said, like
Hmm.
groups, covens, and just groups of people doing this nonstop. They pay them to sit around and chant and send out intentions. Like, and the government actually have used this technique.
Oh yeah. Right. Especially on their competition.
Hmm.
Saying a lot of world leaders get ill out of nowhere and things like that because they're getting hexed by these contracted psychics, covens. They're contracted by covens, psychics, wizards, right? And they hire these teams and they pay them well. And all that sorcerer has to do is do their job. This has been going on for a long time, a long time.
And I also feel like this is probably going to come out later on, and they also make it so that the person that is doing the work or pushing the spells or the covens that are pushing the spells don't even realize what they're doing and who they're doing it for. It's like very anonymous. But or they kind of like, I think they put the thought into your mind to make it think that it was your idea or someone else's idea, but still they have a target. You know what I mean? So they're also using that new technology that you're talking about.
So
Control.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, so if they were to approach a coven, they're using everything from the agent that walks up to the coven to the frequencies that they may play in the area. They're using every single thing. They're targeting the phone, and they're influencing those witches to be influenced to want to do this task. But they have so many different resources, like you said, at play, right? The frequencies, and there's even frequencies that they can send out that we cannot hear, but go right into our brain. Our brain can hear it. We can't hear it. You know. So when they have a target to perform a task, that person that they're contracted is also a target. So it gets real deep when it comes to these intelligence agencies.
So do you think, okay, and I know they also do that, but do you think that some people just chalk it up as like, oh, that's not real, but they have this evidence now that's released? So what do you think about people that have now this evidence that we're saying it's not real, it's not real? Like, now that people can see that it was real and people that actually do this and are doing it, people are saying, how do you protect your energy from this? Or how do you protect yourself from being affected?
Practice your own witchcraft. You know, witchcraft or sorcery or whatever, or magic is the oldest religion, right? It is the most powerful piece of spirituality. Get with the program, right? Or you'll be prey to it.
Is this why you see a lot of higher up people tapping into the occult? Because they have to?
Oh, absolutely. If they're smart, they will go into the occult, or you will become prey of the occult in some fashion or form.
So, a lot of people are always talking about, oh, this person is sold their soul, or this person did this and this person did that, or this person practicing witchcraft. They got to.
That's what it's going to come down to, right? And you know what I thought was very fascinating for a long time is the intelligence agencies of the world studied indigenous spiritual science for magical weaponry and defense purposes. I always was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Right. Even down to interrogation, what the CIA would do, especially if you were like in an African country, they would threaten to hex you while interrogating you because they studied the psychological influence of the fear of witchcraft. So I think stuff like that is real deep, very telling to how important witchcraft kind of rules the world in a sense.
And so, like, unless you practice your own magic, your own whatever, you know, like you said, pray or be the prey, become the prey, or be the what am I trying to say? You just said it a second ago.
Become the predator or be the prey.
Yes, become the
right?
predator or be the prey. That's what I was trying to say. Okay.
And for the naysayers, I just got one. I only have one thing to say. CIA.gov.
Okay.
Put in witchcraft in CIA.gov. You're gonna be like, wow.
Okay, so the divine goddess asks, does having anxiety and racing thoughts constantly mean something spiritually? Or are we more activated, using more of our brain on a higher frequency? So where does anxiety come in racing thoughts?
It could mean so many. It could mean you're being hexed. It could mean that you just have a lot of activity. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. It could mean a lot of different things. We'll have to like do a reading to really pinpoint.
And do you help people that do this? Like have these types of questions?
this is what I do.
This is
You
what you
know.
do. You'll put your information here.
Yes.
It's actually in the
It's in the chat.
and then yeah, it's in the and I'm gonna post it again.
Send me a text 917-605-1469.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people may have some questions and may want to see what's going on, because like a lot of people will mistake what's happening to them for something else, and they'll just go get on a medication, and that's not always the answer. Sometimes it is, but sometimes if that doesn't work, then it may be something deeper. Sprinkle.
A lot of times it can be a simple hex removal. It could be a simple spiritual bath that can kill all of that. So text me if you may have something going on.
I'm gonna put your information here in a second so they can see it on the screen. It's in the description bar, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it here again. Okay. So you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Occult College, and also Terrane is on Instagram, and the phone number is mentioned right here. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me read some of these questions. Do you think the government leaders of today, this is my question, do you think the government leaders of today are definitely using the occult? The ones that are in office right now?
100%. This country was founded off of the occult. If we look at the structure of the buildings, we look at the Pentagon, which is a pentagram. We look at the White House, and it's straight occult. It's witchcraft, right? I'm not going. You know what? I'm going to say that this government is smart because they use the weaponry of all of the world's witchcraft to secure their place as a world superpower. That's why it's like they're unstoppable because of the approach towards the occult. And that's what people got to figure out. And they, because people are like, how can the government do this? This is not right. This is not fair. How can they do this? How can they do this? It's because they took the witchcraft approach, and it have been working.
Okay, so Rim asks how to manage being the first in your family to wake up. Like, do you, let's just say your family don't believe none of this, they're not into it. What do? Just keep it to yourself and keep learning and keep it pushing, or what?
I'm not going to lie, it's very hard to be that first one to really become so conscious of what's going on. I feel like it's hard to talk about it, but if you can, what I say, show and prove, right? The first thing you got to do, you got to show with your finances that you have some credibility. And then when people see you doing financially well, they're a lot more inclined to listen to what you have to say and your take on what's going on spiritually or what you see, what you observe. But if you don't have money, just your credibility is going to be predicated on how financially well you're doing when it comes to what you're observing in spirituality. That's what I teach.
I feel that. Yeah. So this is why, like, whenever millionaires, billionaires, and government officials and all them, they consult an occultist, they consult different like readers and all that kind of stuff before they make major moves, because they already know this is real.
Right. Yes.
And so okay, so let me ask you a question. Other places that are more religious versus occult, or more religious versus spiritual, do you think that they're at a disadvantage than someone who, like, a place or a culture or a group of countries that are heavily into the occult, magic and witchcraft and stuff like that?
by far. All we got to do is look at the world, right? But also, what I think is interesting too, a lot of the places that are more religious, the leaders of those religions hire an occultist to make sure that they're eating and that they have a congregation. They're still going to a witch behind closed doors. But yes, those who are way more invested into the occult are doing so much better. I'm talking about nations, doing so much better than those that are not into the occult practices and investing into the occult. That is the difference. When we look at the countries of the world, the occult countries are up here and everyone else is like down here. And it's that one thing. It's the sorcery. Whoever has the throne on the world has the sorcery. We call it the seat of sorcery, right? And that has been the case for like 6,000 years.
Right. So, I mean, what people learn about and what people are doing, I think it's like the public, it's like a watered down version of what the government is actually doing, because you have people practicing certain forms of magic and they're going by certain rules that the higher ups do not use. And what do you think about those things?
When I first started to study the occult, I would read literature on how even the king and the queen in the society bowed to the sorcerer, right? And the seer. And I'm like, whoever's practicing this at the more sophisticated level has the power. And then like what the government will do is they'll allow you to practice your sorcery, but they won't really give you the real stuff. They'll give you the watered down stuff because they got to keep the power. And it makes so much sense.
Yeah. And this is what keeps, like, just because you practice something don't mean you're practicing it on the highest level, because there's certain rules in place to keep you not being able to reach those levels. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
and I'm saying, like, as far as learning whatever craft or whatever occult knowledge you're learning, they also teach you to fear certain things as well in that, to keep you at a certain level. And
Right.
so they don't go by the same rules other people go by, that practice craft. They don't go by the rule.
And that's where the fear of witchcraft is effective for governments. Because it's like, well, we're going to practice this, but you won't because you're afraid of this. So by default, I have more power than you because I'm practicing it. And we will brainwash you to whatever you think you're allowed to practice, you can practice that. But the real stuff will make sure you're afraid of it. And the government been running that game since day one.
So, like, what do you think? Do you feel like people should do whatever they want and listen to themselves, or be afraid and just work at a limited level?
I feel like if you are tired of being a slave, then you will dive into the depths of the occult, and you will find your way. Right? We all have intuition. We all know if we should not be doing something. We don't need anyone to tell us. We don't need a book or anything to tell us, oh, don't do that. There's an intuition we have. And, I found my place. I found my freedom into diving into the occult unapologetically. Yeah.
That's true. Because, like, no matter what your morals and standards are, when you get ready to do something, you can feel whether you should be doing it or not whether it's right or wrong, not whether it's this or that, but you feel it personally, because it's your timeline, it's your frequency that is going to put this out. So you feel, you kind of like have a feel for what's going to do and what's going to happen. So
Yeah, we are,
the feeling.
we are all adults, right? We know right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need anybody to tell us, "Oh yeah, that's evil or that's wrong." We're adults. We know the difference between right and wrong. And a lot of people allow society or the government to say, "Oh, that's wrong," and then we follow that, and I feel like a lot of us stay enslaved because of that.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, someone's asking, are you familiar with Gematria and using numbers to script events, reality tragedies for the music industry and the government? You mean like on the movie Knowing?
Yeah, so Gematria is pretty much the algorithm of reality. Everything in our reality is dictated by ones and zeros, the binary code, or what they call in ancient times a drinker codes, right? What the Dogon see was these ones and zeros. And if we fix the patterns of the ones and zeros, we can actually change the outcome of reality. It's a very advanced science, and it's actually one of the most difficult sciences to study in the occult, but it's very, very, very effective. But it takes at least 10 years to begin to slowly get it down. So yeah, I'm definitely know a lot about Gematria.
Okay. So you got to affect the code like in the Matrix.
Kind of, sort of. Um, someone. So the Dogon tribe, they really had the Gematria down, and one of the things was when people would try to learn the Gematria, the Dogon tribe would tell people, "This is way too dangerous for you and your civilization to learn." Is that effective? Because that stuff can open up stargates, it can affect reality, and even the science of traveling back in time can all be manipulated through knowing how to move the ones and zeros.
Okay. So do you think they have a machine that does that now?
Oh yeah, yeah. They probably got they got supercomputers. So there's machines, there's mantras, right? The yogis got to a level where they found out how to delete someone's soul out of the universe using Gematria. So if you all Google Vedic Gematria, y'all start learning about some of that type of stuff. This is like a little example of the Gematria. See, these are ones and zeros in Sanskrit.
I have like books with a lot of those symbols in it from Gematria and all different ancient codes and stuff like that. And sometimes I just look at them like going into, a trance. I don't know, like, have you ever just stared at something or a pattern or like an occult like symbol and just gone into a trance?
So yantras, right? So this was a technology where you would stare into the center and it would take you in a trance. And if you focus the right way, it could take you for like hours. This was our ancient way of turning on the television, right? And entertainment in a sense, because we would really go out to another dimension. So this stuff is carefully crafted to send us into other dimensions without having to go into a spaceship.
I think that's why certain shapes and things in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, are a certain way, because it's the same thing. If you stare at that long enough, or the symbols long enough, it's going to take you, or at least bring you some type of knowledge, or thoughts that definitely wouldn't have come if you had not looked or stared or glanced at them too long.
Yeah,
it's like back when I was real deep into stuff, I would literally just I guess it's kind of like a download, kind of.
Yeah.
Just get a bunch of downloads from looking at certain symbols, from looking at certain, things. So yeah, it's definitely something that people are doing. But
Yes.
I'm gonna say this: if you are trying to do that, make sure you got a lot of free time and energy, because if you have to it's hard to snap in and out of it.
That's
So make sure
why
you got free time.
it's interesting you mentioned free time, because this is why I inspire my students to really get this bag, because the occult is expensive and it takes time. And the only way you get to really fully immerse yourself in it is if you can afford it. So get the bag if you want to get into this stuff.
And lots of rich people send their kids to different schools that teach a lot of this stuff, like on the low, as also financial stuff too. So they're teaching their kids the financial science. They're teaching their kids the occult science in different schools. There's even TV shows about it now that's out. So someone said mystery schools. Yeah, they're sending their kids there.
But the only way you get into the mystery schools, right, is you actually have to do well in regular school, because you need the trig, you need the algebra, you need all of that stuff, geometry, math. You got to understand all of that stuff. So encourage your children to really know their stuff, because if they do well, they'll get into the mystery schools, and then when they get into the mystery schools, that's when you learn magic.
And some people are also, they can't do all of that, so they try to teach themselves and they dive real deep into it.
Yeah, that too.
And they got the DNA as well that's also on their side.
Yep.
So there's organized ways to do it, and then just self-taught ways.
Yep. I agree.
So you said what? You're Harry Potter? Somebody said they're Harry Potter. But yeah, like, let me read some of these questions. Someone said they need 2 to 3 weeks to come back. I think once you tap into some type of occult knowledge and you get on, like, I don't know, but like if you get real into it, it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop learning, because it's like knowledge is literally power. So you got to like take a break and stuff. You got to have time to process it, to understand exactly what it means. So you do have to have a lot of free time, definitely. And having money definitely helps. So that's why, like, I always pushing, entrepreneurship, getting your bag.
And approach it in a mature way, because it is in fact a mature science. Your average person was never privy to the occult. So even if you have the knowledge of the occult, you're like, okay, I'm going to dive into this. Consider yourself lucky, privileged. This was never something that the layman practiced. So you are practicing the elite, and I would encourage people to have a mature approach towards it, and don't rush. So much information out there, as y'all can see.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid. It's not something like, I look at it like another subject, like a subject that you actually like.
Yes.
So going to school and you're afraid of math class, but those people that love math find it very intriguing, and they
do well.
Like, you gotta approach the occult like it is a science.
You have to like it. You have to have some drive for it. We call the people that go into the occult, we call them Sadoks or seekers, right? And as they're like on a journey, but it have to be a lot of fire driven by that journey into the occult, because there's so many things that can kick you out of the occult, right? Distractions, right? Or being influenced by what others say. So that person that's on that occult path, like you are on you climbing Mount Everest, and you're gonna go into so many road bumps, but as you keep climbing, you keep being fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And the more you learn, the more you understand the world without speaking. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's weird. It's like the less you have to speak to understand something in its full capacity. It's just like you feel it, you understand it, you get it. Nothing has to be super explained to you anymore.
I come to find occultists as being, very well mannered, very classy, very, very mature, very, very soft spoken. It's that maturity of diving so deep into existence. It molds you into being this like very prestigious person, right? So I see that so consistent with occultists.
Mm-hmm. And some of them won't tell you who they are, or they might give little hits of clues, or they won't tell you that they know anything. And they'll speak what they want to speak, but they're not going to give you the whole enchilada. They're not
Right.
going to tell you everything that they know, because they can't even explain it. It's just something already within.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. I met a few people like that, and like it's just an unspoken exchange that people understand and know.
Yeah. And it's coming from the study. And as you study witchcraft and the Goetia, things like that, these things imprint and download things into your character and your development, right? Molds you in a sense, right? So most people are not, they're too afraid to work with demons. But those of you who are daring enough, you will start to find that working with things like goetic energies make you an auspicious person, right? You start learning how to give back to society because you're starting to understand life from a very deep level, and your cravings change. So the cause is a very deep, serious path. But these world leaders, they're all taking guidance from occultists, and that's why they are persevering in life. And the proof is in the pudding. CIA.gov.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about normal people that want to get deeper into the occult? Like, what should they be doing right now? Like, what would you tell someone that's afraid but wants to dive deeper?
Couple routes, someone like me, I'm available, hit me up. I have a channel and all of that, so it's good to have a mentor. Second thing is, find a book about the occult, a good one, right? It don't even have to be a real book, right? It can be the Arabian Nights. Take your time and go through that journey. What you don't want to do is take too much advice from people, especially
Agree.
people who are not occultists. They
Agree.
will confuse you. They'll have you going all sorts of directions. And another thing that I would like to say is, one of the first questions a lot of people always ask me is like, where should I start? What should I go into first? And I always tell them the same answer. You gonna feel it. That's the only way I can describe. You'll feel, okay, I need to be studying this. No one ever have to tell you what it is that you have to study. If you listen to what people tell you to study, you're not going to learn anything because your soul is not drawn to it, and it's too complicated for you to absorb the information. So you're better off going with what you feel, right? So
Definitely.
those are my that's my advice.
And I have some advice to add to that, which is very, very similar. that will help people as well. So like you said, go for what you're interested in, what pulls you in. And this is how I did it. The supernatural, anything that's like pulls you in, study that first, because it all has occult meaning. And once you start studying whatever it is that you're interested in or pulled to, whether it's aliens, witches, vampires, psychics, or whatever, you're going to tap into the occult knowledge behind it, and then it'll take you from there.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to know where to start. Just start where your interest lies, because that's what's going to fuel you.
Yeah. See, this is a subject, like SHERA said, but it's not college. So you can't approach it like, okay, math class. Nah, you got to freestyle where you're drawn to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, what's your favorite movies? What are you drawn to? Study
Right.
whatever the supernatural or the magic is in those movies. Some people like monster movies, vampires. Some people like werewolves. Study the occult meaning behind those types of things, and then keep going. It's gonna definitely be occult.
Right. I'll give y'all an example. I had a thing for black holes. I mean, I had a sick fascination for black holes. Like, are they wormholes? And then I had a thing for like the Bermuda Triangle and all of that. And as I was studying black holes, I come across the goddess Kali Ma, which she is the eater of time. She is a black hole. But I studied the black holes, and the occult led me to Kali Ma. So, as SHERA said, look what you're drawn to.
Because they're all symbols of something else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how I started off. But either way, it's going to take you somewhere. I started off with the worst one, as some people will call it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to start off researching demons, okay, in the 5th grade. So I just dove right on in.
That's so deep, because we have a very similar story. I was in middle school, and something about me just wanted to be rebellious. So the first thing I studied was demonology.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to be a rebel. That was just my thing. And actually, opposite happened. Studying the demonology matured me very early on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, what you fear or what people teach you to fear, you should learn about first and foremost, so that you no longer have to fear any of that. Mm-hmm. I believe when you dive into something and you learn as much as you can about it, the fear just goes away. So a lot of times people are afraid to learn something, but that's how you get rid of the fear behind it, is to learn about it.
As I look through history, and even the golden empires, like, in ancient Egypt and stuff like that, our advanced societies, we always we had no respect for the peasants or the laymen ever. It was just the royalty, and then you got the peasants, and they're like out the way. But the royalty stayed with the knowledge of the occult. And as I was looking into that, I started to see that society doesn't even know what to accept as normal or cool or good or bad, because it's all being influenced by the royalty. So as I learned that, I started to see that it doesn't matter what society thinks. Society never had this existence figured out.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? So if we try to appease what people think is acceptable, we end up very, very, very unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to add that in there.
That's true. Okay, so Purple Frilly says that she finally finished the book, The Witching Hour. I read that. You read that. And it's not for the traumatized or triggered. Okay. Book 2, you're reading, couldn't finish it. You just put it on the Insidious. Okay. So yeah, that series, The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, they have a government or a secret society of psychics, witches, and magicians that work for their own secret society, and also sometimes the government in that series by Anne Rice. So I think that's also interesting. She wrote about it as well.
Because it's very real. You know, even myself, I have been approached by a lot of different people for a lot of different contracts. I turn some down, some I don't turn down. And I can tell you right now, everything in that CIA document is real, right?
Mhm.
Sorcerers are contracted for all sorts of stuff. Y'all have no idea. Even the pastor. You know, when I was like in my mid-20s, I was kind of shocked by how many pastors came to me for money work. And they were so unapologetic about it too. Hey, I need some magic. You know, I got a congregation. I'm like, oh, this is a thing. Y'all do this unapologetically. And the congregation will never know. I've been inside of churches when no one was there doing the money work, and the pastor be right there, and they'll be like, yeah, that was good. I need that again next month.
Well, you know what it is now, people.
Y'all know what it is now.
Are you familiar with Ascension Glossary?
No, what's that?
I don't know. Somebody asked me and asked you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar.
So sorry, I had to look that up and get back with y'all. So yeah, I've come across a few pastors because the field that I used to work in, and a lot of them, they're into the occult, they're into secret societies, and they know the deal. But they teach the congregation whatever they need to hear in order to get them the building funds.
A lot of pastors are Masons, Freemasons, and that brotherhood is absolutely an occult organization, right? So that's something for y'all to know.
Yeah. So the very people that are teaching religion and obey this and obey that, they don't follow the same rules.
Oh no, and I think that's like the main thing in our video. Like, they don't play by the same rules.
Then the people up higher than them, they don't play by the same rules either. There's different rules for so nobody is playing fair or by the same rules. The Scream song, keep playing, changing the rules while you keep playing the game. The higher you get, the rules keep changing. So
again, the main purpose of the CIA investing all of this money into the occult, and we don't even know what programs they got out now. This is just the declassified stuff. So imagine the main purpose was to gain a strategic edge over the rest of the world, especially when it comes to competing with other world governments. And right now we have a edge because this government is doing things that we're like, okay, the government's going to fall at any moment now. It's still not happening. How is the occult application? Because black magic gives you the ability to do what is impossible, right? Or unnatural, or supernatural. Yep.
And yeah, so do you have any examples of that? I don't want to take too long, but give us some examples.
Okay. So like how could Donald Trump say whatever he wants to say and do pretty much whatever he wants and get impeached twice and not get impeached or not go to jail and get convicted of crimes and still become the president. Like there's a long list and get shot and still be alive.
He said he don't care. He just do what
Right?
he.
That is because he's working with a very good sorcerer and maybe an entire coven of contracted witches that he's paying them well and he could do whatever he wants to do. That is the power of the occult.
Mm-hmm. So someone is asking, what do you do when you study the occult and apply the concepts but don't see any results?
You need to talk to me because you need a mentor or a guru, someone who is well experienced that can walk you through this science because it is very advanced science. It is elite. It is difficult. And you got to know what you're doing. And it's probably a good idea to communicate with someone who's been doing it for a long time successfully.
And if people know what you could do, they'll seek you out and try to get you to help them. Help with their issue that they are either unafraid to do, unable to do, or just can't be associated with.
That's right. That's right. So, I have, very wealthy people, very well known, and nobody knows that they hire a sorcerer. They like to keep that on the low. But they pay me because they see results. Yep.
That's good. At least they know what to. So, yep. Y'all, the government's working with witches, psychics, and occultists and sorcerers. So if y'all ever wondered, the CIA documents are there for your viewing pleasures. Just go to what was the
CIA.gov, the official website of the CIA. This ain't like clickbait. The government put this out, right? You got what you call it, MK Ultra, and then you got Project Stargate, Project Bluebeam. You got like so many different projects listed, and then within the project, so within MK Ultra, then they got like the sub projects, right, where they would take a coven and they'll sit a coven in a room and pay them $300,000 to see who they can hex and stuff like that. All of that stuff is on that website. Right.
And how do you get that job? Do they seek you out? Or you? Because I know a lot of people in here. How do I get that job? They got to find you.
They're gonna find you, right? So for example, which covens, real ones, they're listed, right? So sometimes as a nonprofit organization, and they have a certain amount of members, and the covens infiltrated their way into certain intelligence agencies or into military departments, or covens have even been able to get themselves as close to the president because of their effective work. So that's how it works. That's something for y'all to know.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm sure all the people are intrigued and probably going to go do more research after this.
Yes.
Learn all they can.
Please do. Yes.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about, or do you have to go? You have it's whatever.
I got more time, but I do want to let everybody know I have something called a Vyapar yantra. This is a business yantra. It's a pocket yantra, and it is good for business. So you put it in your pocket, or you put it in your office desk, or whatever, and it's supposed to attract you money. So if anybody's interested, text me, and I'll show y'all the technology of how to work it.
Okay.
But yeah, let's keep going.
Okay.
I got time.
So what about tarot readers? Somebody talking about tarot readers up in there. Do they have
a what?
Do they have a place in this?
Oh, absolutely. So the White House hired a lot of tarot readers from 40s till now, and the thing with tarot is 52 cards, 52 weeks. This is going off of Gematria. This was After Egypt fell, they had figured out a new way to play with the algorithm, and that was the tarot. But it started with playing cards, and then it turned to the tarot cards. So those 52 cards still in what you call it, the binary code, and if you can match the numbers up properly, that's what y'all doing when y'all doing tarot. Just don't realize it. You can predict or see the future, or in some cases, manipulate the future. So I can say, this is going to happen, and I put it out there, and I match it with the numbers, and then it happens. You know, some people got so deep in the tarot back in the day that they had to put it down because it was too accurate, and it got a little dark. So if it's like, well, you see in the cards, oh, well, my boyfriend's going to cheat on me, right? How can I manipulate that? And then it it'll take them down a very weird rabbit hole, and they had to put it down. Yeah, so tarot readers absolutely added into this.
Yeah, definitely. Hold on. When I used to read tarot, I could see a lot of synchronicity start syncing up and a lot of accuracy getting better and better. And it is kind of addicting. So yeah, I could see how you would go down a rabbit hole. So, you know, a lot of times people do put that down for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially when it's getting too real.
Yeah, exactly.
I do believe that you can definitely change the algorithm or the whatever. So yes. Have you ever done tarot readings or got one that was like scary?
Yeah, I used to do tarot.
Scared, but like scary accurate.
Yeah, so I had a best friend that did my tarot readings, and I got tired of the accuracy because I didn't like when I would receive something I didn't want to receive because it would come out accurate. So I hated that. So I was like, you know what? I'm not getting more readings because I don't like to hear what I don't like. And they were so good that it was nothing I would be able to do about it. Because what it was is that they were also a seer by bloodline. They were a 5th generation psychic. So their accuracy was always dead on. And I'm like, I don't even want to know all of this.
A lot of people switched to oracle cards. And if you've noticed, a lot of people started creating oracle cards that are more positive in nature. So you can't get a bad reading. They switched from going through tarot to going to oracle cards or to having more positive, meanings of the tarot cards in the little books that they sell with it so that people wouldn't go down that path. So I think that has something to do with it too, just to, get the mind back right. But okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because you got to trick yourself. The divine goddess can Chat GPT be trusted to learn the occult?
Hell no.
No.
That's not a good idea. I know a lot of people are now getting their birth chart readings on ChatGPT, and they're like, "Yeah, this is so accurate," and all of that. ChatGPT is missing a lot of things, right? One of the main things it's missing is the actual psychic energy. It is missing the actual supernatural. ChatGPT it doesn't have the witchcraft.
Right. So you can't learn from it because it doesn't have the frequency.
It's not a good idea.
Right. You can learn a few things, but you can't learn everything. You can learn like vocabulary, like the simple stuff, the mundane stuff, not how to work it. Okay, Reem says, how do you know if you have witch ancestors? As you have noticed, when people try to sabotage me, they get health issues or accidents.
How do you read it?
A reading?
I mean, there's a lot of different indicators like that, like what you just named, right? The health issues and accidents. But a lot of people that have witch ancestry, they have witch guardians that they can see in their mind's eye.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll have dreams of witches, or if they watch a movie that have witches in it, they'll kind of have this very weird like nostalgia,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where they kind of remember, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, one of the main ones is like a lot of people that have witch blood, they can remember being in a past life and being burned at the witch trials. So those are some indicators.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I know a lot of people do because a lot of people practice that back in the day. So a lot of more people do have it than they realize. Just have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
tap.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tarot is Kabbalah, numerology, alchemy, and astrology in ideogram and pictogram form. So what I want to say.
Let me think. Kabbalah, tarot is a little older than Kabbalah.
Mm-hmm.
Numerology, there's so many different forms of numerology.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do like that statement in pictograph form. Well, I never seen it like that. That's deep.
I
Okay.
think the modern tarot incorporates a lot of that.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's deep.
Mm-hmm. Right. I used to also stare at tarot cards. Like you have your little symbols. I used to also do that with tarot cards, and there's so much you can see. And with the original ones, the Rider Waite ones, those, if you stare at them long enough, the colors and the contrast off of them also do a little weird thing, you know. But I also look at those, and you can see so much deeper into things when you just stare at something and go into a trance at it as well. So I don't know,
Wow.
try it. A lot of witches or people that practice magic, they take tarot cards and put it on their altar when they really want to focus on what the tarot card represents or the symbolism or whatever. Like a lot of people use the Lover's card during love spells, or the different types of cards for like money spells, depending on which one, like King of Coins. So definitely it has that energy and that frequency on it, especially if you use them and all your energy is on it, and you charge them and all this kind of stuff. You can use those tarot cards in spell work as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like when you used to do tarot readings, did you like eat breakfast with your tarot cards and stuff?
I used to have them with me all the time. I had this little sack that I kept them in, and they would be in my purse, or I would keep them in a tote bag that I would take everywhere with me. But yeah, I had a set of tarot cards that I've had since I was 13 years old that I still use and I still have. So I was doing people's readings with my first set of tarot cards that I got at 13, even though I had so many other ones that had my energy, all the stuff, all the things that come with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I got this one deck that I had when I was like 17, and I still have it. I would never let that deck go. It's so accurate. I haven't used it maybe for like 10 years, but it have so many memories of accurate readings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like they do get your energy on them. So definitely keep your old decks and use them. You can use them in spell work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So did you see when Donald Trump was telling that lady she looked good, even though he can lose all his political uh, power, he's still gonna do it anyway?
Right. I'm telling you, you pay a sorcerer, you can. I'm not going to say you could do whatever you want, but damn near. If the occult application is that well practiced, You know what I'm saying? So it takes work though. It takes work, right? So studying this stuff could potentially get you to this place where you feel like a god, right? It's going to take work though. Saying it's not going to be like you're going to earn it. I'm going to say that. You're going to earn it.
Yep. So he knows something. He knows something and he can get away with it. Everything. I mean, people can't put this together yet. Like people keep asking questions. Like people keep asking dumb questions. Like how is he getting away with this? You know somebody or something you don't know. Okay.
When I researched how deep the government went into the study of the occult, it wasn't even the stuff that CIA.gov put on. It's that the government infiltrated a lot of the indigenous societies of shamans, spent money, initiated certain people, and extracted those secrets just for mainly psychology and defense purposes and for the purposes of influencing. Mm-hmm. They were not religious about that approach. They were completely scientific about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's how you have to approach it if you want it to be more accurate.
Right.
Because your feelings don't get in the way. Okay, yep. Angela said when she was little, she dreamt of red robe people in an ancient town. Who are they? Dream was wild. Red robe people in an ancient town.
You should look at it. I don't know. Maybe Celtics.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Y'all stop asking random questions. Y'all can research that. Okay, that had nothing to do with what we're talking about. Okay. Thank you, though. I appreciate the sprinkle, but y'all gotta use Google for what it's for. Okay, so since all these government people have sorcerers, witches, covens, and stuff like that, do you think that like the people that are voting, that the people that are, doing all this stuff, do you think any of that stuff really matters if they're gonna do what they want anyway? Is it just a facade? Because a lot of people think it is. Like, I don't vote because I ain't wasting my time. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but I know the truth behind all of that stuff. It's already planned.
What's more important than that actual, facade of voting, because we know that the leaders are selected, not elected, is the group think persuasion. So if I can brainwash you into liking me, it's going to work in my favor down the line, especially when you do things that I don't like. You got to see that world leaders and world governments understand ebb and flow of the persuasion of the people.
Right.
So what's more important than the voting is, can I get 20 million people to like me just a little bit? Because I'm going to absolutely do things over time that you don't like. But I need y'all to like me a little bit, because if you hate me, then whether I have magic or not, there will be a revolt or rebellion. They're looking at this in a very absolute mindset. And we are foolish enough to be like drawn to, attached to this law or that law that they're passing. But they're looking down the line. Right? It's about world psychology.
That's true, because you're going to listen to who you think you voted for and they won. You're going to listen to who is deemed powerful. You're going to listen to people that went from every city and answered your questions and held your baby.
Yeah.
You're going to see them in a different light than if you were just push a button and elect them without them doing any of that. They don't have to win you over.
Right.
They're already elected, but the whole point, or selected, and the whole point is to win you over enough to influence you in a direction or to look into another direction. You're absolutely right.
Groupthink is influencing groupthink is a version of vampirism,
Yep, that's why I don't.
right?
That's why I don't vote. People keep saying I voted for somebody. I don't vote. Sprinkle.
I can lie to 50 million people and tell them that I'm rich, and 2 days later I'll become rich. Right? Rappers do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll vote if you pay me, but I don't know.
I never voted a day in my life.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I think that's why you can see things, or like when people aren't for one side or the other, you can see things from a higher perspective because you're not invested in it.
Right. Or like you're not of it. So now we can see things objectively, and we're gonna have a way deeper understanding, and we're gonna be a lot more rational.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never like attached to anything that this government does, or I don't get mad, or I understand at a global level, being an occultist,
Mm-hmm.
I understand what's necessary. I even understand the necessity of brainwashing the people, because throughout history, the people have been known to be unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can look at things like the French Revolution, where like the people ransacked the kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
overrun the kingdom, and killed the king and the queen. Right? So knowing, I read books like The Prince by Machiavelli. That's such a good book. The Prince by Machiavelli.
Okay, I gotta read that.
Oh yeah, you would love it.
Yeah. So there's always these weirdos that be like, "Why don't you vote? Why don't you vote?" Girl, I'm like, "Shut up! Why don't you learn magic?"
So the people that are like that, they have fallen under the experience. They have fallen under the CIA brainwashing.
Mm-hmm.
They're got already, and it's very hard to reel them back. That's why a lot of y'all studying this. It's very important. Y'all be careful who you talk to this about, because if someone is brainwashed, they're not going to understand what you say. You could put the facts out in front of them, they're still not going to get it. So yeah, we on CIA.gov. They're still going to reject what you're saying because it's brainwashing. So much energy went into this.
You can pay people to tell other people to vote, but them other people ain't gonna tell nobody to vote unless they're paid to tell them. Okay.
Right.
People say,
That's a
well,
good point.
celebrities say to vote. Celebrities say to vote. Celebrities is paid to say to vote.
Right.
They don't do nothing without getting paid. I promise you.
Yep.
And the thing is, if you tell me to tell people to vote and you give me some money, I'll lie to y'all and tell y'all to vote. But y'all know this channel is always going to be here. You can come back and watch this video. And I say, I don't vote because it doesn't matter. But if you pay me, I'll tell you, just like the pastor. Y'all need to go ahead and vote. They paid me.
Gotta do that little wink.
All right. Y'all got to understand, these people ain't out here telling y'all to vote because they woke up one day and felt political. No, they got paid.
So would you say that we're being played?
I mean, if you don't know it, then you probably are. I feel like I've been alive long enough to know no matter who's in office, I'm still gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I never felt like someone being in office would affect how I'm living my life or my finances. I never felt like that mattered. Especially because I feel like I control my reality. This or that law is not affecting me.
It's literal magic, because as soon as something goes wrong in someone's life, instead of looking in the mirror, they go look at the government leader that they chose to guide them and lead them. I look in the mirror, baby. That's who my leader is.
And I feel like that's the worst thing anyone can do, especially if you try and get your money up.
Mm-hmm. They're making decisions based on what they said on TV or CNN said, but I'm making decisions based on what energy I'm putting into what I'm doing. That's the difference.
Right. That's the difference. And
So,
that way you have control and you
mm-hmm,
don't have to wait for a handout.
mm-hmm. People are like, did you get your stimulus check? I'm like, I didn't qualify for one because I'm too busy doing this money magic. I don't qualify.
Yeah.
I'm too
You
busy
know,
getting.
like when everybody was getting the PPP loans and everybody was trying to, "Hey, you need to get you a PPP loan." I'm like, I don't need that.
Mm-mm.
And then now half of them getting arrested for lying. You know,
I'm like,
everybody was trying to persuade me. Oh, you need to get. I'm like, no, I don't need that because I'm going to be financially well regardless. I don't need the government's money.
mm-hmm.
Like, if the government is offering me money, I feel like it's a setup anyway. Knowing what I know about all the extent that they went into brainwashing, it's a setup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking nothing from the government.
Nope. And you know, a lot of people don't realize that because you know, but still, like it's better to lead yourself than be led by someone, you know, that's not really for your best interest. Because I don't think anybody truly cares. I think you care more about yourself than some stranger that's probably never met you, and you're gonna do
Yeah,
what's
that's
best
true.
for yours. So definitely.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You said it's always a sit up.
It's a
Yes,
setup.
I don't believe in voting. I don't believe in putting the power in someone else's hand. I believe in being accountable and uh, looking for my own solutions versus looking at some man who don't care and who's got sorcerers in their pockets and they gonna do what they want. Like, what's the point?
What's the point of even paying attention?
Yeah, do what you want. Do what you gotta do. Have the same attitude.
The only attention they getting from me, like one time I had Oudh Donald Trump, and it got me a lot of sales. Like that's the only attention they was getting from me. Is I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid off of this. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, and like yeah, people just got to take accountability for their own lives because that's one of the reasons I stopped doing tarot readings or readings
Mhm.
for people because they just wouldn't put accountability on themselves. You know,
Hey, how long ago you stopped doing readings?
a couple of years ago. Yeah,
Yeah. I stopped like maybe I don't know, 10 years ago maybe.
yeah. It was too much for me. Those like a lot of people just wouldn't do what they're supposed to do in real life.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to encourage them to not do what they need to do. Any basic tips for money magic? You haven't learned money magic yet. Learn it. That's a basic tip. Learn it. And it's all about prosperity and positive thinking. And, you know, positive thinking is most of it. And prosperity and thinking about things that make you feel like you already got money. Like put on some money music, put on an expensive outfit, put on some jewelry, get some cash, like Terrane said in the last video, keep it around your house, you know, wear scents that smell bougie and rich, you know, just get in the frequency of it. Listening to money mantras, all of that, doing money work, but money spell, lighting money candles, just do it all.
Speaking of money magic, the amount of occult symbols on that dollar bill is crazy. Like people keep telling me the dollar's going to crash, the dollar's going to. It's not happening. People feel like crypto is going to take over the dollar. It's not happening. Everybody who says that don't understand the occult
Exactly.
and what this government was built on and the power behind the application. I've been saying it for years. And, you know, everybody, I don't have a problem with crypto. it's that US dollar ain't going nowhere.
That's
And
true.
Bohemian Grove is the only word I have to say. Research that, and then you'll see why I say that.
So they're doing sorcery on the money to keep it up.
Yes, that's my point exactly. So the top 100 leaders of the Fortune 500, the first 100 well-doing companies in America, they meet up, they do rituals on the dollar bill. Now, when they meet up, they're putting so much energy and money and resources into this ritual once a year. They're not letting anything happen to that dollar. They're going to do whatever they can do ritualistically to make sure that that dollar thrives. And a lot of people don't understand when a group of people meet up to do ritual is very powerful. But when you have $1 billion to dedicate towards a ritual, then how will that ritual not work?
Exactly.
Because now I can pay a coven of witches. Right? I can pay a coven of witches $20 million to work for us for only 1 week. $20 million. Those witches are going to put their life force into that ritual.
Just like on American Horror Story, like the Coven and all the witches in there and all the different seasons, they be calling them up to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Even on different seasons. Okay. Is it a good idea to do ancestry DNA to find out if you have any type of ancient bloodline? A few years ago, you remember people saying, don't do those tests.
They have maybe research the Ancestry website and see how they do their stuff. But I don't feel like there's an issue with that. I think you'll get some sort of accuracy.
Yeah, they say AI can do it now with your face, your bone structure. They can yeah, they said AI can analyze your face and tell you the different regions where your bloodline or your DNA is from.
Get
I don't know
out.
if it's more accurate than the DNA, but they can do it now.
I would try both.
See if
if both say the same thing, I would run with that. Wow, I believe some of that because like the structures and all of that, I can see where AI would be would be able to accurately detect some of that. I believe that.
Yeah, because they're using like anthropology and your like the measurements of your skull, and they're comparing it to thousands of other skulls from different parts of the world. So they're able to cross-reference that in a computer.
Wow.
With who your ancestors probably were.
That's deep. So I would say this. I would say use the AI thing and then go to one of the ancestry websites and then also get an authentic reading from like an indigenous practitioner that does ancestry readings. I would say get all three. And I feel like you'll get some accuracy there.
Yeah, could be. And you have to also remember, like a lot of people's DNAs that are mixed create a whole nother type of people. You know what I'm saying? So that's also, you might get some of that cross-referencing as well.
Yep.
Do you have to be balanced individual to manifest or create money spells?
I think you have to be about manifesting money.
You got to be obsessed with money to get money.
Damn, that's deep. We said the same thing.
If you believe bad things about money, if you don't believe you deserve it, if you think money is this and money is that, you ain't gonna be able to attract it to you. You got to be obsessed with it as if it's your birthright.
I like to say that I have a love relationship with money.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that. I have a relationship with. We have a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and however that relationship is going to deal with how I manifest money, and I have to do my part and take care of money, things like that, and that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a love relationship with money, and so that's a little tip there.
Exactly. Someone says how to find a good tarot reader in your area.
I
Who's the
don't know,
most?
man.
Yeah.
Listen, it's because of the new age era. It's shaky out here. There's a lot of people that they picked up some cards, and because they wanted to make money, they got into tarot. But
Mm-hmm.
those are the worst readers to go to, because me and SHERA was doing this when this stuff was still taboo and weird.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be more legit, or people that were doing this around our time would be a lot more legit than when the new age came.
Mm-hmm. Go for somebody old. Go for Unc.
Yeah, go for that's been doing it for a long time, because the people that were doing this stuff when it was still weird, and they're legit because they weren't necessarily driven by money.
Mm-hmm.
There was something in them that had them do this and step out and do this. Now everybody's a tarot reader.
Mm-hmm. You know, they might be on their way, but if you go for the people that was doing it a long time ago, they're probably going to be better at it. Not to say that, not to discredit other people, but if you want a good one, go for the experience.
Yes.
Watched Incognito. It is a cartoon on Bohemian Grove. Okay. It's a
There's a
cartoon
cartoon on Bohemian Grove
called Incognito.
Oh, we gotta check that out.
Spirit Goddess. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna see what it is. Is it on YouTube?
We gotta check that out.
Uh-huh. So, you know, and okay, another thing about getting your money up, you gotta feel like it's your birthright.
Yes.
That's the only way you're gonna get it up and keep it up, because that's your birthright. Think about people who are born into money. They walk around in a frequency like, I'm gonna have money until the day I die, and so is my kids, and my grandkids, because we just money. You got to have it like it's your birthright. You got to feel like it's your birthright.
And even if you don't believe this right away, you got to kind of psych yourself into believing this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what SHERA is saying. Like, just psych it. You got to full court press money, and that'll work. You gotta develop that belief. I'm supposed to have a lot of money now, not later. It's not attainable. Like, I deserve this. Like SHERA said, it's your birthright.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
People put such a negative stigma around, feeling like that, when you have people walking around that feel like that every day because they were born into it. So it's not negative. It's just they will program you to think it was negative.
I think one of the things we can look at psychologically is that those who were born into money, they're operating at a 360-degree difference than the people who never had money. Mm-hmm. And the difference of people with money is the gap is so wide as far as how much money is, that if you feel like you never had money, you gotta really psych yourself into believing like, I deserve way more money, and you gotta be very aggressive about it. Mm-hmm. And that's where people get stuck at. You gotta be aggressive about what you feel like you deserve.
Yeah, even if it's having high standards, mm-hmm. and taking the least and proclaiming what you deserve and all this and that. Is like speaking it into existence. And people respect that more than humbling yourself, saying, oh, well, whatever you can do, or, oh, well, I'm not, nobody likes that. They like strong, confident, people that understand their, what they want in this world.
And I believe a lot of y'all are on the right path, but where y'all mess up is you allow your peers to tell you that money is evil. You allow your peers to tell you, oh, the money is getting to you. And you allow people who don't have money to discourage you. And those people are motivating you to be comfortable to not have the money that you deserve. And you got to shut that off. You got to kill that noise.
You said, what do you think about people who think that money is the root of all evil?
Next question.
There was evil before there was money, baby. There's the answer.
It's so deep. If you entertain that, forget about it.
How is it the root of evil when evil was before money? There you go. Timeline is.
How is it? If there's anything that might be the root of evil, it might be the existence of poverty.
Yeah, because even in the Bible, Cain slayed his brother because he was jealous of all the abundance that he was being given.
Right. So
he wasn't getting as much.
So what inspires evil? Poverty. Think about that.
Lack. Thank you, Laya. Yeah. So brokenness is evil. If you have money, you got all this money, but you're broke. One is in survival mode and will do anything to get out of it, but one has money as in comfort. So who's more likely to do something irrational and evil?
Wait.
Yeah.
Money is the root of all evil. That comes from, I just went into ChatGPT. It comes from the Bible, Timothy 6:10. See, the Vatican installed that in there.
Yeah, but they be sitting on gold thrones.
But look at how much evil the Vatican has committed for money.
So they don't follow the same rules.
They don't follow the same rules. First of all, they hired poets to go into the church to articulate what hell was about. And if you went into confession, you could have done anything. I'm talking about anything, right? And if you paid the church, you were absolved of your sins.
That's why people donate to the church, because they be doing bad all week. That's why they run around trying to convert other people, thinking they're getting brownie points to get into heaven. And so I feel like a lot of people do that, but they don't realize they're not even playing the same game as the higher ups of their very own religion.
Yep.
So I don't know what to tell who, because like honestly, y'all just playing a game and collecting money on their behalf. Okay. You said any advice on spell work to get somebody to pay you back?
Text me and I could knock that out.
Terrane said he can help you, but I don't loan out money. I wouldn't know.
You know what? I'm so happy you said that, because I told all of my students, don't give out no loans for at least 2 years. Because how can you get to a certain bracket and you're not there yourself? Like, where do y'all think y'all are to loan money? Are you a philanthropist? And last time I checked, philanthropists are wealthy already. So I made a rule. Don't loan out no money to not your best, nobody. So I'm happy to hear that you don't loan out money.
Exactly. I don't do that. I'm not
Yeah. No, I'm not. No. I work for this.
Exactly. Do you guys know about popes and how they are initiated?
I don't know. I'm not a pope. Yeah, I wouldn't be. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they have some serious occult rituals. I know that.
There was this series like years ago. I think I talked about it with you. Um, it was the Exorcist series, and they only had like 1 or 2 seasons, and they never came
Okay.
back because of what they showed at the Vatican. Like they were collecting people's organs and burning them and doing some type of occult ritual on this table surrounded by like the people of the church, you know. So I don't know if you ever saw that. I don't know if you can still see it somewhere, but they was putting out a lot of info in that series.
Get out.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like because like some of the organs hold different frequencies and different energies. Like if you go back to ancient Egypt, how some of the organs held certain things, parts of the spirit, the plasma, or whatever. So when they eat or burn, they were eating it too. When they eat or burn or make a burnt sacrifice or eat something, they're ingesting some of the energy or spirits from other people or from other types of people, you know. And so I think that has something to do with it. But you know, that's been known forever. We've been
Have
eating
you?
mummies in the Victorian era. People be eating, you know, Lovecraft Country. They was eating somebody's flesh. So it's like that's been known.
I used to hear for years. I don't know if it's true or not, but I would hear that like what they do with the body of the pope that dies is that the they eat the body. That's what I heard for a long time.
And they be eating them afterwards too to take on that spirit and the energy from the last one, kind of like taking on their knowledge, sort of.
Yeah. So this is what I heard. I know one thing that whatever they do with the body or whatever, they don't tell you. I
Hmm.
know that they're like behind closed doors and they have some sort of process for electing a new pope, and that whole time that the pope is dead, they're doing a lot, but they are letting they're not telling you what they're doing.
You know that Prince song, "You could be the president, but I'd rather be the Pope."
Yeah. But you know it's so deep. It's like we know that the Vatican have to be practicing the occult because every occult book ever written is in the Vatican. And this is what they say at the Vatican. So this is not like a conspiracy theory. So what do they have access to?
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, you know, their outfits, their original outfits and everything goes way back to the ancient times before there was even religion.
I know that there was a point where the world had like a record of what occurred in the world, and it was called the Magnum Opus.
Hmm.
I forgot the last time the Magnum Opus was recorded, but the Vatican has all of it. We so according to that, we don't even know accurately what occurred in history, but only the Vatican knows. Only the Vatican knows. We don't know if they did magic to influence a war. We don't know if time was manipulated. We don't know, but we do know that according to chronological time, that certain things don't add up.
Hmm.
And this is where we come up with the knowing of what we call the Mandela effect.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Um, okay, so someone saying they're switching a new direction from their career because they're on OnlyFans, but they need to get over the scarcity mindset. I'm gonna take a little break and I'm gonna let you handle this one.
I got you.
I'll be right back.
All right. So you want to get over OnlyFans and you are trying to say the first thing you got to understand is that it's about when you're trying to get into that new bracket, right? like whether OnlyFans made you money or not, you have to change everything up about you ritualistically, right? The way you travel to work, the route you drive, how you clean your car, how you clean your house, the direction that you place your bed in, right? Look into feng shui. Now, I guarantee you, if you look into feng shui, your bed, I can promise you your bed is in the wrong direction, right? If you want to get over the scarcity mindset, another thing is there have to be people around you with the scarcity mindset. Cut them off, right? Another thing you might want to do, get a business yantra, text me 917-605-1469. You got to just put that in your pocket and it will work, right? Get over the scarcity mindset. You have to look into your diet, right? Only eat what we call electric foods. All right, that should answer your question. You back?
I'm back.
All right.
So yeah, like people, like most of the people in the government in the United States started off doing stuff that wasn't, you know, what they're doing now. Like the whole country was started off with certain things and they just kept leveling up to the next level, you know, because that's what you got to do.
Yes.
What you start is not where you finish.
Agreed.
Okay. Why so many men in the White House wearing blue suits? We talked about this last time. Blue, like navy.
That's elite. That's a color of elitists, right? And then also, if to take it deeper, right? There's two ancient secret societies in government, right? One is red, one is blue, right? The blue is a certain type of dragon energy, right? The red is another type of dragon energy. These energies have been in rival for this is an ancient rivalry amongst Europeans, right? So when you see these two opposing parties fight, it's been going on for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the blue, that dragon, right now that bloodline, it's a bloodline. That bloodline has the upper hand right now. But ever so often, there will be a overthrowing of this rivalry and another, right? So that's what that's about.
Mm-hmm. That red and that blue.
Yep.
Okay. So you said both the red and the white. What? Michael Jackson's video. Beat It. Oh, they had the dragons on the back of them jackets on Beat It. That's right.
Yeah, that's deep.
Okay.
I didn't even see that.
I saw it a long time ago. I think I made a video about it. But yeah, it don't matter who's wrong or right. Just beat it.
You know, like that's one of the things I studied a long time ago was like ancient gangs, right? One gang would have like the 5-pointed star, and the other gang would have the 6-pointed star. One would be red, one would be blue. And when I studied this rivalry in gangs, go back like thousands of years, right? And it's just what do you call it? The information have evolved, but it's going back to a very intergalactic rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that with Democrats and Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I see that. It's just like a copy, and they just keep copying it. They don't know.
Yeah. They don't even know where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm. That's why Prince said he just want to see you bathing in your purple rain because he tired.
Yep.
Then a red and a blue makes purple.
Red and blue makes purple, right? And what's purple? Royalty.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you rise above the competition, you rise above the rivalry, and you see it from the higher perspective.
Right? Because the most royal color is purple and gold.
Mm-hmm.
That's the epitome of what would be royalty. Purple and gold.
Yep. So it's like seeing it from a higher perspective and no longer in it, but above it, and
Right?
seeing everything like from a god or a goddess perspective. You was trying to
Right.
decode Cardi B intro to her album with crows chasing her. Then she changed from wearing a blue to red. Okay. I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah.
Okay.
Crows, ravens, it's very witchy. She
Okay.
tired. She ain't playing with them. She's like, I'm done trying to be this nice person. Here come the ravens, here come the black hair, here come the red, and here come the crows. To me, it's very witchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when a woman becomes like that, you know, it's pretty much over for, you know, whoever is messing with her. In my opinion.
I feel like when a man becomes like that, he's wearing red and black, a red and black suit. Anytime a world leader has wore that, especially like a U.S. world leader, there was a war that followed shortly after.
Yep. And like the ravens and the birds flying everywhere, you know, that's her eyes in the sky. That's her ancestrals. That's her, what you call it, familiars. That's her power. You know, she's not playing around no more. She's like, you know, I done gave y'all a million chances, and here I am now.
Isn't she from Puerto Rico?
I think her people are Dominican.
Oh, they Dominican?
They Dominican.
Oh, okay.
But you know, very close. But you know, she has been known to do a little Santeria.
Yeah, I seen some of that back in the day. She had like altars and all that stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People were like, well, how does she get to being like on Love and Hip Hop as like a background character, and to the only one to come out there with #1 albums or music, period?
Magic.
Okay.
It's in your face.
The only one that practiced the magic.
That's it. I was really motivated by that, right? Where she was just a love and hip hop person, and then she became a superstar rapper. And I remember when she was like, "I'm gonna be a rapper," and it's like, you don't know how to rap. I remember this. She's a rapper. This is what magic can do if you take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I remember
that.
scrolling through, seeing candles burning on her Instagram and whatnot. I was like, okay, what's that?
I remember that. I remember she had like this closet, and it was all these chickens that she had sacrificed. All that stuff is gone now, but I remember that so vividly.
Yep. And like people don't realize they be doing some stuff, and it's not evil, it's cultural, and it's her belief is what got her to believe that she could do what she needed to do. Be a rapper. Be #1.
So you said cultural belief, right? This takes me back to CIA.gov.
Mm-hmm.
They study the African indigenous religions for defense purposes.
That's why. Okay, so on some of these things, they have symbols on them, or they're shaped in a certain way. Like some of these planes, some of these stealth planes, some of these things have stuff like on them, like sigils as well.
The B2 bomber is a and a drinker code within itself because of the shape. Now, this is a stealth plane that it's never been shot down. This is what they were looking towards the African spiritual religions for. They weren't looking for spirituality. They weren't looking for anything but influence and defense. And that's a big deal. I don't know what inspired them to look that way, but it worked.
Do you remember on the movie The Black Panther how their planes were, or that plane was? It looked like
Yep.
mask.
Yep.
I think it's like you know, kind of an homage to that, like how it is African symbols and codes and magic.
I didn't even think about that. But the planes were like V2 bombers because they have the flat, and they were dark and flat. I didn't even think about that. But even in Black Panther, they had the entheogen, right? What turned you into the Black Panther? You took that drink, you went to the underworld, and you came back like a superhuman, right? Their version of that, if you look at CIA.gov, right? MK Ultra, their version of that was LSD. LSD.
So, LSD, any type of not stimulant, but hallucinogen.
Yeah, we call them in the indigenous practice entheogens. So that could be mushrooms, ayahuasca, toad, any of the plant medicines. So they made a synthetic version of that, which is LSD.
You said Black Panther has a lot of symbolism. That's it does, like a lot. So what do you think about so even they had, like on Black Panther, they had their own spiritual rituals and all that kind of stuff when they like mixed with technology. So their stuff was like past, present, and future, and everything was mixed with technology.
That's right.
Kind of in their own government.
That's right.
So it's like what they do now. They use the past, present, and technology, science, and everything, and witchcraft and the occult to make everything run.
Right.
And our government too.
Our government does that specifically. You know what I'm saying? I'm really interested to see what is released 10 years from now. Because this can't be everything. So now we know that y'all was hiring witches and covens to do some of y'all dirty work. Right? Because the CIA only exists to do dirty work. So what else? What are y'all doing right now? That's what I want to know. I want to know if my brain is being hacked.
I want to know why somebody asked me if I was in it.
You're never going to get over that because they don't make enough. Right?
Exactly.
But it's fascinating because, like, what weaponry does the government have that they haven't even released yet? They got to have something because the way that we move, like, logically, don't make any sense. But we have a president that can't get assassinated.
I think he called them witches from American Horror Story. The coven.
Listen, I thought it was so deep when Trump first got impeached. And he, like, I remember the day he got impeached and he did a rally and he was laughing. And it's like anybody else would have turned red and they would have been so stressed out. And he was laughing. I'm like, I've never seen this before.
And then you have him and Elon Musk going back and forth on, online, and like he ain't got like Elon Musk ain't got satellites in the sky and stuff pointed at him.
I do want to tell everybody watching this, some of y'all are going to get deep into witchcraft. Witchcraft will make you feel like you're invincible. So be mature about it, practice patience, but there will be some things about it that will make you feel like you could do anything. So just keep that in mind. I'm not telling you to run with that, because I don't want you to make any mistakes, but there's a very real, like, empowered feeling that you'll get if you practice the science properly. So try to check it, because there's not going to be many things that'll be able to check you.
Right. I also believe behind the government, witchcraft, and all that kind of stuff, there's also a technology as well. Because like people ain't afraid of witchcraft alone, but you have some technology behind that witchcraft that's fueling it to be even stronger. Just think about a machine that's programmed to do witchcraft with other sorcerers to amplify it even higher. Imagine that. Imagine a machine that amplifies psychic magic from real witches, psychics, and sorcerers.
Okay.
I think that's in 10 years.
Because look, we got heart. So we have heart, then we gotta have something like what you're talking about. Like common sense would tell us that there's some other machines that have the witchcraft that what she was talking about enhanced. They put millions of dollars into this in the 60s. So we gotta kind of think ahead of the game and go, if they did that in the 60s, then they got something that influenced the magic. Therefore, that's why anybody who tries to go against the United States ultimately fails. And this is why we can make, as a nation, all of these risky moves. But we studied something that everybody else did not.
Yep. And like they're saying that all the magic came from Kemet. And a lot of times, like people think they go back as far as they can, but you got to go back even further than that, when it comes to ancient civilizations. Before that, who taught them? And I believe like they combined everything that they learned. Like they got the physicals, they have the psychics, the witches, they have the what do you call it? Theo something? The mushrooms and the psychic and the LSD and all that kind of stuff.
And theogens.
Then they have frequency, like the 5G wireless. They combine all of that. Like think about this. A lot of people had to go get, immunizations. A lot of people had to get this and that. Something came over the masses in a large way. We can't really say it. But then you have all the technology, the witchcraft, and all that stuff combined. So it's everything. It's like every dimension that can be touched is going to be touched.
Yep. Yep.
So I see it 5G, 5G, not 5G, but the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension on every level, to where it's now creating multiverses like on Doctor Strange.
The multiverse thing is so deep because we started off with like the Epic of Gilgamesh as like the first story, and then now we are at the Marvel universe or the Marvel multiverse. As we watch these movies, we're like, wait, hold on. They created entire multiverses off of these so we went from tablet storytelling to movies. to the hacking into the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
If this is being displayed in entertainment, imagine where the governments are.
I know. So like the sigils that, you know, they're wielding in the Doctor Strange, and those are like the magic that sorcerers are yielding and governments and all that kind of stuff to change reality.
Yep.
And then the character that they chose to play Doctor Strange in the movies is the same character that played Sherlock on BBC. Have someone that's all like back in the old days. Sherlock was a super brain, and then they just evolved him into a Doctor Strange.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting the characters and the actors that they also use to evolve the story, the storyline.
Yep.
Like religion has different stories, but it's the same story over and over.
Yeah. That's deep.
Okay. Well, I hope y'all like this.
I hope y'all like this. We gotta do more of these conversations. I think we took them a little deep.
I know. But I mean, it'll just give them something to think about, something to research, and something to consider, other than, you know, the norm. So, and all work is out there online if you want to research all these government files.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Terrane, for being on the channel.
No doubt. One love.
Thank you, everybody who donated and asked good questions. And y'all want to hit up Terrane? I'm gonna put his info down here.
Yes.
It's also linked in the description bar.
Hit me up for the yantras. This is very good for money. So text me 917-605-1469.
Okay.
Isis. Thanks for having me. Peace.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Sprinkle, sprinkle. I'll see y'all soon. All right. Bye.